let's review multiple intelligence theory before we do the activity. Depending on the semester, the activities will change, but the idea will remain the same, that everybody has strengths and weaknesses and how they learn. And understanding multiple intelligence theory can help you focus on what helps you take in new information, helps you focus on what to pay attention to first, to enhance your weaknesses. What I mean is, I typically will go to my strength when I'm taking in new information so that when I go to my weaker areas like reading and writing, I already have a basic understanding of what I'm trying to learn because I've seen it visually or I've gone through and performed something kinesthetically. We are all different. And so by understanding this, you can kind of pick and choose. You don't want to ignore your weaknesses and say, I only want information coming in through my strengths. But when it's a brand new concept, use your strengths to at least give you a basic understanding. And then you can go to your weaker areas to help boost those and make them stronger. So multiple intelligence theory, Howard Gardner was not impressed with IQ tests. He felt like IQ tests were biased to the population that created it. Here's an example. If we went to the Amazon rainforest and we met with an uncontacted tribe or a tribe that had never been influenced by outsiders, and we asked them to develop an intelligence test, what would they think a person would have to know to show their true intelligence? What they think would be important would be drastically different. So if they created some sort of IQ test for us and it was about edible plants and it was about building shelter, what have you, we would bomb it. Likewise, if we brought them to the United States and let's just say they could speak our language and we had them take our IQ test, they're probably not going to do very good because it's not how they learn. It's not how they grew up learning. And so multiple intelligence theory is a good way to look at different types of ways of paying attention to information. For me, visual spatial is huge. Like if you present new information to me, I want to see it first. I want to see some sort of diagram, some sort of illustration. Bodily kinesthetic would be next for me. If there's some sort of skill that can be associated with it, some sort of activity, that's what I'm going to be drawn to. That'll help me get that new information, develop an understanding with it, so that I can eventually get to linguistic and verbal. So that's going to include your reading, writing, speech, like if I had to carry on a conversation about it. That's one of my weaker areas. So I always want to take in new and novel information, visual, spatial, bodily kinesthetic. I am kind of logical mathematical. Like I like to see concepts linked in a logical sequence. Musical rhythmic, that's another one of my weak areas. I have no rhythm and I'm not musically inclined. Interpersonal would be the whole reason I have you in groups so that you can work on these skills. If these are your weaker areas, I want you to understand how to function within a group. Once you have a better understanding of strategies to deal with other people, because we're all so different, that will help you boost that intelligence. That's interpersonal is how well we work with others, like having the intelligence to be able to work within a group. Intrapersonal is knowing oneself, your own strengths and weaknesses. Just by going through multiple intelligence theory is giving you a better understanding about yourself and strengths as it relates to paying attention to information. But intrapersonal can also be your personality. So if I'm an extrovert and my group needs a leader, I might want to take on that role. I might naturally gravitate to that role, but having an understanding will help me make that decision if I want to. If I'm an introvert, and that's one of my weaker areas, is interacting within a group, maybe I don't want to lead. Maybe I just want to take on another role that will support the group, but I don't necessarily want to lead the group yet. But by identifying that as a weakness, that is something that eventually you would want to work on. But maybe if this is a freshman level class and you're already nervous because this is your first time in college, don't take it on yet. Put it on the back burner, and that's something that you can work on later on. Naturalistic is if you're interested in the natural world, like biology, ethnobotany, environmental anthropology, you want to be a game warden, you want to work as a park ranger, you want to work as a biologist, all of those individuals are naturalistic learners. I am a naturalistic learner. I love nature, and I love learning from nature. So those are the 8 that Howard Gardner has come up with so far. And we're going to have an activity in class that will allow you to assess which of these 8 are most important, or which combination of these 8 do you just naturally gravitate to. All right, here's multiple intelligence theory going back to zone of proximal development. Where does it fit in? Well, these other areas, you're thinking about, how do I like to learn individually, right? So this is visual, spatial, linguistic, bodily kinesthetic, musical, rhythmic, logical, mathematical, naturalistic. That's more of thinking about learning individually. But the interpersonal and intrapersonal relate to the group work. That group work will allow you to test this area out. How do you work well with others? Interpersonal. How well do you know oneself? Intrapersonal. You can test that out and develop strategies by working within a group and learning from others within a group. There may be somebody within your group that has a similar personality that you can learn from because they have good strategies that are helping them work within the group. So I had you do the VARK inventory at the beginning. In the second half of the week, we will take multiple intelligence theory, and on the second day of the week, we'll simplify it to something that's easier to test out with the activities. So we'll have the VARK inventory that you did in week 1. We're going to look at that, but in terms of something that you can physically manipulate. Instead of doing something on a survey, now we're going to physically manipulate visual, auditory, reading and writing, kinesthetic. We'll look at those areas for that day's activity. It is just a simplification of multiple intelligence theory, and it's way easier to apply in a classroom setting to most class activities. So multiple intelligence theory is connected to week 1 in social learning. Remember, in social learning, we broke up your groups. I had you kind of assess, are y'all working cooperatively? Do you have a defined leader? Are you working collaboratively? No defined leader, you're just all contributing to get the activities done. If you had a defined leader, what type of leadership? That all fits into this intra and interpersonal category. That's that social learning element of multiple intelligence theory. The VARK inventory that we do in the second day of the week is going to cover this element of multiple intelligence theory. The visual, spatial, verbal, linguistic, bodily, kinesthetic, they all fit in these 4 here. And then the daily activity will also allow you to assess at least logical, mathematical. For this semester and these activities, musical rhythmic is going to be tough to pull off. There's nothing really that we have that applies to that other than the procedural component to that, but we'll get that in the logical, mathematical. And then the naturalistic, there's nothing really from nature that we're going to have. So these 2 are going to be hard for this semester's activities to apply. But not all semesters. Sometimes I have activities that relate to naturalistic learning. Like if we did primitive fire, if we did primitive survival as our activities, we would have a naturalistic component and even a rhythmic component to some of those activities. Some of those take rhythm to be able to pull off, especially with the primitive fire. Here are some references if you want more information about the VARK learning styles. That'll take you to their website. They conduct research in this area. And if you want more information about multiple intelligence theory, anytime you see Kendra Cherry and her website, verywellmind.com, that is a really good reference. Like, she does a really good job breaking down learning theory, educational learning theory.